community that has water, if you go to a community that has water and you want to dig well for them, they will not pay attention to you. They won't. You're literally like just, wasting time, everybody's time, right? So you need to be sure that there's a need for it. And in other description of project, that's when you need to talk about the proposed activities, how it will work. So let me give you an example. Let's use this solar, imaginary solar training, right? So the description of project for that solar training, for instance, would be, for example, you can talk about the beneficiaries, right? How would you even know who the beneficiaries are? How do you know them? What is their age range? Because if you are teaching children that are ages 3 and 4 how to make a solar panel, yeah. In fact, if you're not careful, they might interpret it as child abuse, right? As child labor, right? Because if children as young as 4 and 5 are making solar panels, that's child labor. They're not supposed to be making things like that at their age. They're supposed to be in school, right? So if you're not careful, you may in fact end up breaking the law in the name of helping people, right? So you need to be very careful, right? So you need to define the age range of the target beneficiaries, the location, where are they living? Are they living in that community? Are they living in surrounding communities, right? You can also talk about the duration of the project, right? Would the project be 3 weeks project, a 3 months project, or would it be a 3-year project? Yeah, it's possible. There are grant projects that you execute over like 2-3 years, even though those grants are usually like very huge, like the amount of money, very huge amount. Imagine winning grant funding of like $200,000, right? 250,000. Those huge sums, those projects are usually like multi-year projects where you have like a project spanning 2 years, 3 years. In fact, once you hear an organization has won a grant of like maybe $1 million, $2 million, it's very unlikely that that project is going to happen in just 3 months or 4 months. It's very unlikely, right? Because I mean, how do you spend 2 million in just 3 months? Except you are Mr. Beast, right? It's okay. So I know I just digress for 1 minute, but is there anybody here who knows who Mr. Beast is? You've heard Mr. Beast? Anybody? I want you to go to the comment section right now and give me feedback. I know who Mr. Beast is. I've heard of Mr. Beast. Anybody? Go to the comment section right now. Now, the reason I'm digressing is that Mr. Beast is the #1 YouTuber in the world, and he also runs a philanthropy called Beast Philanthropy, right? You can check out Mr. Beast on YouTube or check out Beast Philanthropy on YouTube. And I think you'll be able to like just get some ideas on basically how to grab attention for your philanthropy, how to essentially grab attention. Because sometimes when you're looking for donors or you're looking for supporters, it really can be tough. You're talking to people and, it seems like as essentially the left ear is going out to the right ear, right? So I think you can learn from Mr. Beast how to essentially grab attention and get people to support your cause. So Mr. Beast is, let me just type his name. Mr. Beast is the #1 YouTuber in the world, and is also you can check out Beast Philanthropy. I think Beast Philanthropy. Sure. Okay, all right. So I've shared in the comment section. I've shared that. Okay, it seems like we probably have not heard about Mr. Beast before. That's fine. I've shared. So you can all in your free time check out Mr. Beast. Check out especially Beast Philanthropy, and I think you are going to learn 1 or 2 things there. So under description of project, essentially, you are thinking through the project and you're thinking about the activities, right? What are you going to do? In a solar training, the things that you're going to do include things like, for example, you would organize classes, right? So there'll be a training program. Part of the project might also involve traveling, moving, within places, right? And so it involves you thinking through the entire project. You have to be able to think through the entire project from start to finish. And that's under description of project. Now, cover pages are simple. Cover page is very, very simple. The funder will give you like the requirements. Like they'll tell you how they want the cover page to look like. So that's essentially cover page. Now, statement of need is about you stating the actual need, the need, what you've seen, why there is a need for the project. Let me give you an example. Now, let's imagine for 1 minute that you want to do a project and you want to provide sanitary pads for young girls in a particular community. What kind of need would necessitate that kind of project? I know I've jumped the gun. You're supposed to start from statement of need before you start describing the project. But let's fast forward for 1 minute, and I need your feedback now. How can you justify that kind of project? You want to distribute sanitary pads to young girls in a rural community. What need could you have seen that will have necessitated that kind of project? I want to see your feedback right now in the chat box. So I'm waiting for you, everybody in the chat box, and I'm also going to type it just in case you're like, oh, what is Benga saying? I'm typing it in the chat box to donate sanitary pads to girls in a rural community. How can we justify this? What needs have we likely noticed? Okay, Ademola is saying low school attendance of girls in class. Yes, low school attendance. But Ademola, 1 million things could be responsible for low school attendance, right? So Ademola, I want you to follow up with me, right? Low school attendance, yes, but 1 million things could be responsible for low school attendance. So Ademola, in your needs assessment, what else did you notice? What was now responsible for the low attendance of girls in class? Amolara, girls stay out of school and miss classes due to lack of sanitary pads. Amolara, fantastic, right? Fantastic. You ask the girls and then you find out that they are not coming to class simply because, you know, their uniforms are getting stained, right? They just don't have the money to afford, you know, sanitary pads, whether it's always or whatever is the name of your own favorite sanitary pad, right? So Amolara, fantastic. Uche, period poverty. What's the meaning of period poverty? Uche, break it down. Break it down. Uche, this period poverty is something is big grammar for us. You know, it's big grammar. Ucha, what do you mean by period poverty? Break it down. American Center, Lagos. Most young girls in the rural communities cannot afford to buy sanitary pads. From Kelechi Cynthia. Kelechi. Fantastic. Ademola is back. No proper menstrual hygiene products. Ademola, so why? Is it that those products are not available or they cannot afford it? Ademola, you know, I like this back and forth between us. Tina, increase in the rate of infection amongst a particular age range of girls in the community due to poor hygiene. Fantastic, fantastic. So Tina, imagine you notice that the girls in class, you know, there's just this, or the girls in the community are just getting infected. And you know that these girls probably like in that community, maybe like they have very strong moral values. So you know it's not STDs, right? Probably also by talking with the community health experts, they're telling you that it's not STDs, right? It's that these girls are not getting infected because of increase in maybe sexual activity, that it's probably due to their to the sanitary products that they're using and stuff. So needs assessment involves going beyond the theories that you have in your head. It involves talking to people, interviewing people, getting to know the problems, because a lot of NGOs don't win grants, not because they are not, you know, seemingly doing important stuff, but because there's really no need for what they're doing. Maybe there's a need for what they're doing, but not in the communities that they are working, right? So I think we really need to understand needs assessment so that the next time we're planning projects, you don't start from the project, you start from the need. From the need. Franklin, lack of money to afford it. Franklin, yes. I mean, that's a huge need. Uche can afford to buy sanitary pads, financial constraints. Discomfort will prevent girls from focusing on school activities. Ezekiel, that's very, very true. That is very, very true. I remember when I was in secondary school, the first time I saw girls using like cardigan, you know, even when the weather was very hot, was in secondary school. I remember the girls used to tie cardigan around, you know, their waist and all of that, right? And then that was when I knew that, oh, you know, there's something called period, you know, and sometimes because my secondary school, we used to wear white. So it meant that if a girl was on a period and she didn't know that it was going to come around that particular day and it was sudden, it meant that their uniforms would get stained. So the girls then used to tie cardigan around their waist and stuff. So when we're talking about period and issues around it, these are real issues happening around us every single day. So Ayola, I can relate to you. Discomfort will prevent girls from focusing on school activities. Absolutely. Michelle, girls from poor families cannot afford sanitary pads and lack of decent changing washrooms contributes to their poor class attendance. This is fantastic. Do you know that your project can literally be just improving the condition of washrooms in schools? Do you know that can be your project? Especially in public secondary schools. Do you know that that literally can be your project, right? Because a lot of this, don't let me say it's a lot of, I can say a lot of, yes, because I mean, I went to a public secondary school, so I know what I'm talking about. A lot of public secondary schools don't have the necessary funding. In fact, some of the secondary schools are having to like reach out to school alumni, you know, to fund a lot of those projects, right? And working with NGOs to do it. So there are so many projects that can come around, that can come out from just this need that we've identified, right? Just improving like the quality of the washrooms. That's a huge one. So Michelle, thank you for sharing. Your window. Some girls stay away from school because they are menstruating and have no pads. Absolutely. Bookie. Probably because the research done, the girls were not even aware of the proper way to stay clean. Bookie, this is fantastic. Maybe it's not a money problem. Maybe the girls just don't know how, right? So imagine that you're organizing a training that is just about, promoting healthy hygiene, right? How do you stay healthy as a young girl? How do you take care of yourself? How do you wash properly? Just an education campaign, education-based campaign. Now we're not even talking money, we're talking about education, right? So, okay, thank you for bringing up that option, because this is not just about money, right? Even if your parents is Bill Gates and you have all the money in the world, if you don't understand, how to take care of yourself as a young girl, right, there will still be issues. America Center Lagos. Okay, this is from Kelechi from America Center Lagos. Some girls in the northern part of Nigeria would rather get pregnant and stay for 9 months without period because they cannot afford to buy sanitary pads. So financial constraint and poverty is a big issue. Wow. This is serious. This is really serious. This is really serious, right? Imagine that. I mean, this is a very extreme example, but it's really sad to think that someone would rather be pregnant because they cannot, right? And this just gives you an idea of how serious, how intense this problem is, right? And what I want you to take away from this is that don't do projects simply because they make sense to you. You need to confirm, speak to people, interview people, the proposed beneficiaries, and ask them to be sure that there is indeed a need. That way you're able to strengthen your case. Another way to strengthen your case is to also do surveys, so that when you're now writing your proposal, you can talk about, we did a survey in the target community, and 65% of young girls don't even know what to do within, the first maybe 2 or 3 weeks of experiencing the period for the first time, right? Those kind of surveys show the funder that, wow, this NGO did their homework, right? So always do your homework. Always do your homework. I want you to go to the chat section right now. I want to be sure that you're following me. I want to be sure that, it's not only the people that have typed comments that are learning from this. So I want you to go to the chat section right now, and I want you to type and say after me, I will do my homework. Fine, let me type my own, right? Because I also need to do my homework. I will do my homework. So how many people are raising up their hands, right, with me, wherever they are, and saying, I will do my homework, right? I will do needs assessment. I will not just write proposals because, the US government has announced a request for proposal and there's money to be won. And so therefore, because, we've learned from American spaces that we can apply for grants. And so therefore, I'll just write one nonsense and put it there. I will do my homework, right? See, there's a level you get to that when you write a proposal, even before you submit it, you already have a feeling that this thing is scheduled. Why? Because you've done your homework, right? You've done your homework. So I love the responses that I'm getting. Mercy will do homework. Buki, Abolara, Lekki Window, Tina, Franklin. I see all of you. Fantastic, right? We should all do our homework. I see all of you, right? So this is very important. I'm spending time on this because this is a big issue with a lot of NGOs and even businesses, where the reason they're applying for the grants is because they've just seen the opening and they're like, oh, there's free money to apply for, and there's zero research. You are not sure that the target community needs the project. You've never even been to the target community. The only reason you're writing what you're writing is because you feel in your head, you've convinced yourself by yourself that there's a problem and there's some people will need that solution, right? So make sure you always do your own, right? So statement of need, right? If you do a survey in that community, that will even strengthen your case. And you can say, oh, we surveyed 100 youths in this community and 80% of them told us that they do not have this. That makes your application standards, because how many NGOs do surveys or do such homework when they are preparing a proposal, right? So that's a very easy way to make your project stand out. Now, organization experience and capability. This section is literally the easiest section. Easiest. Why am I saying this easiest section? Because remember, I've always been talking about traction. I also gave a code last week that I'm going to repeat now, in case for some of you that were not around last week. You cannot manage what you cannot measure with a joker. Organizational experience and capability is really key. Even if you're a new NGO, right, you have to do a pilot. Do something first, right? Now, how can you sharpen your organizational experience and capability? There are two elements to this. What makes an organization seem capable is, one, a function of the people on the team, and two, the projects that the organization has done. The first one is very easy. If you work in an NGO or you're the director of an NGO, right, it's very easy to improve your profile, your bio. How can you do that? You can take courses. right? You can take certifications, right? You can maybe, if possible, if you can afford it, maybe go for another degree, do an MSc, apply for fellowships like the Mandela Washington Fellowship, right? Let me give an example. As a Mandela Washington Fellow, I was interviewed on a local TV station last week, BCS TV. And literally when I went there, and they were like, oh, how should we introduce you? One of the producers was like, we're going to mention, that you're a Mandela Washington Fellow. I was not even the one I paid myself. I was not mentioning it, right? They were just very excited about, the fact that I'm a Mandela Washington Fellow. And they literally were like, whoa, he's a Mandela Washington Fellow. And that's the power of these fellowships. They are a way of lending credibility to your name, right? So as someone who works in an NGO, you're working for an NGO, you lead an NGO, it's very important that you build your profile, that you participate in these fellowships, because not only will you improve the quality of your networks and improve your knowledge, it is also a signal to potential funders that this person is credible, right? And that you can do incredible things. So it's very important. Build your profile. Would it be certification, more education, fellowships, right? Build your profile. Now, talking about the organization itself, how can you build the profile of an organization? It's about doing things. Even without funding, you can do CSR programs, right? You can do an intervention. It can even be for people in your local community, right? Maybe, for example, your NGO is focused on education. How about paying the school fees of maybe 2 students in your community? Do you know what? Sometimes when you hear that NGOs are paying school fees, sometimes you may think that, wow, they must have a lot of money and they are paying a lot of school fees. Let me shock you. When I served as a core member in Kogi State, I served in a community called Omala in Kogi State. The school fees was a public school, and the school fees they were paying was 1,500. Do you know that quite a number of the students could not afford it? I'm not kidding. 1,500 naira. And they still could not afford it, right? And then I was able to mobilize friends and family, and we're able to pay school fees for, I think about, was it 10 or 15 students? I can't remember the exact number now. We're able to pay school fees for quite a number of them, right? And the money was not much. It was just 1.5, but I was just very angry within myself. Like, how can you be sent out of school because of 1.5? Like 1.5, money that some of us, you just go to the eatery and you spend 1.5 just like that, right? Or it's money that you spend on data. But some people are not going to school because of that. So if you're an NGO in education, that's a very easy way for you to make, to make progress, to show traction, to show that you truly care about, this problem and that you're taking action, right? So don't wait until you win $1 million from Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation before you start working. If you're unable to show some traction now that you don't have funding, when you do win funding, you'll be suspect. You'll probably be one of those people that will take that money and travel to Dubai, right? So you need to show what you can do with little. If you're able to show that you can do so much with so little, it means that when you get big funding, you will most likely do a lot with it. Please share it. From organization, our interventions are usually research-based. So this your highlights and encouragement to keep at it. So please, well done. I say, what are the examples of trainings we can attend? If it's online courses, you can check out Udemy, Skillshare, Coursera, and take courses, right? Take courses. Some of these courses are even free, right? Like EDX, right? So let me just type some names here: Udemy, Coursera, right? Just Google them. Skillshare, right? You can take courses, and even if you have to pay for the certificate, some of them are really so cheap, right? So you can take courses. You can, decide to probably do an MSc, a master's, or an online MBA. Right as I'm talking to you, I'm a student. I'm doing my MBA, an online MBA at Quantic School of Business, right? So Quantic is an online school. The interesting thing is I got a scholarship, 100%, 100%, right? So if you check my social media, I don't even talk about it, the fact that I'm a student, I don't talk about it. But of course, by November next year, I'll be graduating from the school. And then that's probably when you see it on my social media and say, hey, Becca's graduating from an MBA. It's an online MBA, right? I got 100% scholarship. There are opportunities like this for you online. You need to grab them, right? When you hear about maybe a resource person, some of the resource persons that American Spaces will bring your way, and you see their bio and you're like, wow, they also started like you. They also saw these opportunities online and then they applied, right? So it's, Kende is also a Quantic student. Kende, wow, can you see, right? We are both, Quantic people, right? Uche, thank you for sharing. Acumen is also a fantastic resource organization, right? They do a lot of trainings, they have fellowships, and they have online courses that you can take for free, right? So I hope that helped somebody here. Just because you're thinking, oh, why can I build my profile and all that? It's very important that you deliberately build your profile. When you read the profile of very important people and you see they've done this, they've done that, you think it was by accident. No, they deliberately built themselves, right? So it has to be deliberate. For you, for your organization, you need to deliberately build your profile so that when you're applying for a grant and then you are talking about your organizational experience and capability, you can brag, right? See, it's not pride if it's true, right? It's not pride, right? For example, if I talk about the fact that I'm a Mandela Washington Fellow, right? Or I'm a Mandela Washington Fellow and ambassador, right? Or I'm a Yale Network influencer, right? Or I am, which other one again? Or maybe I'm a winner of a Google Back grant or something like that. It's not bragging, right? It's true. I'm telling you the truth, right? Of course, as long as I'm not carrying it on my head, right? So I hope that you are learning something from this experience, because some of you, this might just be the one thing that will help you win your next grant, right? Funders will not give you money if they don't think that you're a credible person or that your organization is a credible organization. So really important point here. Really important point. I mentioned the name. Metro Health is asking. I mentioned the name. It's Quantic. Now, Quantic does not give everybody scholarship. You have to apply for the MBA. Then you have to apply for the scholarship separately, right? But I mean, it will be very exciting to hear that some of you go into Quantic or other online MBAs. The reason I chose an online MBA is because, I mean, I don't want to leave my business. We are busy at Grandmaster, right? So I don't see myself going into a class and sitting down and doing MBA, right? I'm sure there are some people from Lagos Business School here. Well, I come to Lagos Business School. I can't come. I have business to run. So it's online MBA that works for me, somebody like me. So that's why I chose that one, right? But do what works for you. The most important thing is make sure that you keep building yourself, right? You keep advancing your knowledge, right? It doesn't necessarily mean going for another degree. But if that's what it takes for you, just make sure that you continually build your profile and the organization keeps doing projects, even without funding, right? Because that way you'll be more attractive to funders. So let's move on. Now, still talking about elements of a proposal, right? Sometimes in the proposal, you may need to partner and collaborate with other people, right? You may need to partner and collaborate. So, do you know what? Some funders will literally tell you that they prefer partnerships. They will say partnerships are encouraged, right? An example of this would be CFYE, Challenge Fund for Youth Employment, or which other one again? There's a BP grant, it's business. Just a minute. BP. I want to be sure. I want to be sure that I'm not mixing it up. BP is a major grant, but I want to be sure that I'm not mixing up the name. So just a minute. I just want to Google it here. Sorry, just a minute. BPE grants. Okay, I'm still looking for it. I will look for it. I will share it before the end of this class. I'll share it before the end of this class. I think it's a grant that we can, that we definitely can explore. I will share it. Please remind me before we leave this class, just in case you're like, I forget, before the end of the class, remind me, oh, that grant I wanted to share with us, I will share it. So yes, so collaborations are encouraged. Now, partnerships have to be strategic. Don't partner because the funder is saying partnerships are encouraged, right? Think about what you can do that the partner cannot do, and what the partner can do that you cannot do, but that you also need. Let me give an example. So let's say, for example, you want to organize a training on, let's stick with solar, a solar training program. You can partner with, so let's say, for example, your own expertise is training on solar, right? But then you have an organization that produces and manufactures solar panel. You can partner with that organization so that organization will donate solar panels for you and donate free equipment. So the organization is donating free equipment, you are providing the training. That is a partnership that is made in heaven. Fantastic partnership, right? Or let me give another example. So let's say you are providing free medical care to people who are impoverished, they cannot afford it, they're in rural communities. So let's say, for example, in your own NGO, you have let's say you have the manpower, like you have access to like medical practitioners, but you now need money to buy some key resources. You can partner with a microfinance bank that is looking to do a CSR in that space. They don't have the time. but they have the money. You have the time, you don't have the money. You can partner with the microfinance bank that probably you read their report, last year report, and they were talking about CSR in the medical space. You can partner with them. They can give you the money, or maybe they'll even give you equipment, maybe they give you ambulance or stuff like that. Or if possible, partner with a hospital. Yes, I literally know an NGO like that they partner with the hospital, and that's how they do their outreaches. They get the doctors from top hospitals to come and do free surgery. The truth is that if you go to those hospitals, you will pay and almost break the bank, right? So think about smart partnerships, right? What are the things that you would normally or naturally have spent a huge amount of money on, right? And who would be willing to give you that service or that product or their time for free? So that's it. Partnerships have to be smart. The partnerships that make a lot of sense are partnerships where the parties are bringing something tangible to the table, right? And essentially the things that will have cost money. Because another thing is that funders like to see creativity, right? Because if everything on your budget is and I'm going to talk about budget shortly, is that you are having to spend money on it and spend money on it, all right? The funder is thinking, is this person smart, right? Is this organization smart, right? Because let me give you a good example. I think I mentioned this last week. For some people, when they want to do trainings, they will now put on their budgets that we are going to rent the halls of one big hotel. We'll rent it for 10 days, right? And each day will be like 100,000. And 10 days will now be like 1 million. Right, and then we have this massive training event, and so you want to spend 1 million naira on the venue, right? When there are American spaces around Nigeria that you can collaborate with, right? When there are American corners everywhere and American spaces, you want to spend 1 million naira, right? When you can literally collaborate and potentially get the venue for free, or get it at a very heavily discounted rate. I can speak, for example, for I know American spaces are doing fantastic work. American Corner in Ibadan, for example, right? I know how they are where they give concessions, like even if you have to pay for the space, is very heavily discounted versus what you'll have to pay for maybe if you go to like rent a hotel or something like that. Funders want to see that level of creativity, right? They want to see that level of creativity, right? And so think about it, collaborations. If you have to buy everything on your budget with money, you are not creative enough. You're not thinking well enough. Every single thing on your budget should not be, and I'm moving straight to budget now, right? Everything on your budget should not be purchased with cash. There are two components to your budget. There should be a cash component, and then there should be an in-kind component of your budget. An in-kind component is what you, as the organization, what you're bringing to the table. So let me give an example. Let's use the solar training that I'm using as an example. The budget of that solar training, in fact, let me ask you this question. Imagine I wanted to organize an intervention to empower youth in a rural community where they've not had power for maybe like 1 year, and the youth in that community are very poor, and so we want to teach them how to assemble and repair solar panels and even make solar panels. What do you think our budget would look like for that training? So let's say we want to train 20 youths in that community. Let's call our community XYZ community, right? What would our budget look like? I want you to go to the chat section right now, and I want you to contribute something, an item to our budget. Let's go. Contribute an item to our budget. We want to train 20 youths in a rural community that's not had power for the last 1 year. We want to train them on how to make and assemble and sell solar panels. So what is likely to be on our budget? Let's go. Let's come up with a budget together in this class. Deborah, batteries. Deborah, what do you mean batteries? I want you to explain. What do you mean batteries? If you were to put it on your proposal, how would you write it? I want you to explain further. Batteries. Let's keep going. Any other person? I'm sure it's not only Deborah that is inside this class. It can't be just Deborah. Sorry, I need to go back. Sorry. Okay, we're back. Any other person? Okay. Tina, logistics, okay. Inverter batteries. So, IAAY African Youths is, I think you're helping Deborah out here, which is fantastic, right? So, you probably need inverter batteries. You need solar panels. Since I say logistics, right? So now you know that your budget will have a part where you are listing the items, all right? There's a narrative part, there's a justification part. The justification part is where you explain the reason why you need that item in your list, right? So trainers fees, Uche, yes. Now, not trainers fees, if it's your organization that is providing the trainers, these trainers fees can actually be in kind, right? It can be in kind. FA is saying venue of our status. Yes, the venue. Techno, Common 11. What's your name, Techno? We consider human resources needed, material resources, money. Yes. Kenny is saying writing materials and certificates. Fantastic. Fantastic. If you want to give them certificates at the end, writing materials and certificates. So thank you all for sharing. Now, it's very important that on that your budget, you have items that are in cash and that are in kind. Very, very important. So that everything is not, you're not asking for money for everything. Right? The in-kind things are the things that the organization will be contributing. So if you're able to get venue for free from, say, maybe American Spaces, that can be in-kind, right? That can be in-kind. You still write the amount, though, maybe that probably American Space will have charged like 200,000 for that venue, but they want to give you for free, or they want to give you for maybe like 50,000. That would be in-kind. So you then write it there as in-kind. That's your own contribution as an organization, right? So thank you so much for sharing. Thank you so much. I like this projector. Thank you. Right, so let's go back. So that's your budget. Your evaluation plan is, how do you know that the program or the project is working, right? Evaluation plan is, how will you measure? Remember what I said earlier, you cannot manage what you cannot measure. How will you measure? So let me give an example. Let's stick with this solar training. How will you know that the training is working? How will you know? Number one is attendance, right? Attendance, and that's literally monitoring. Monitor and evaluation are always together. Right? Monitoring is more about you measuring the tasks, right? Evaluation is more about you measuring the outcomes, right? But for the sake of this class, I'm going to just lump both of them together, and let's say we have an M&E plan. Now, how do you know that the solar training is working, right? Attendance. If 20 of them come on day one, and only 10 of them come day two, something is wrong somewhere. Is either the class is boring, right? Or maybe the class is uncomfortable, or something is wrong somewhere. It's even possible that probably it has nothing to do with the class. Maybe they don't have transport fare to come. Yes. Yes. So attendance is a key part. It can also be about maybe if you give them like a test, right? So the performance on that test, right? Now, what happens after the training? How many of them are actually are able to probably start their own business or get jobs with skills, right? So post-training, right? Post-training evaluation, right? So if maybe 75% of the trainees are able to like maybe secure jobs or start their own small business, now it seems that this training is working. So your evaluation plan is, think about it. How will I know that this training is successful? That this training is achieving its objective? That's your M&E plan. I can see that some people are sharing in the chat. Okay. Somebody is Yetunde is saying you can provide food. Yes, if they are very poor and maybe food is the reason they will not come to class or they will come early, you can provide food. Tina is saying timing. Yes. If your training is too early or too late, it's possible that you may lose students. So evaluation plan. Now, sustainability. Sustainability is, think about it this way. Funders don't want to be funding you every year. They don't want to fund you forever. Funders want you to be able to stand on your own feet by yourself after that initial funding. Let me give you an example. So let's say, for example, Tony Elumelu Foundation gives you $5,000 this year. They don't want to give you another $5,000 next year. They want to give you that money so that you can use it to establish your business, so that you will be able to stand on your own feet and employ people. Not that next year you're expecting them to give you money again and out. No. Right? If the US government is giving you a grant this year, they don't expect that next year you're coming back to them. They're expecting that by next year you are doing bigger things. And even if you are going to win grant funding, it's not from them, maybe from somebody else, right? So funders don't like to keep spoon feeding you as an organization. That is why they always want to see your sustainability plan. Meaning that, what is your plan to get funding? What is your plan to keep this program going, even after the money we are giving you has run out? So how do you answer this part? You can say things like, we are going to get funding from our advisory board, right, after this program. Or it can be that, we are already in talks with maybe some other funders and, we are sure to get funding from XYZ. Or it can be like, we are going to design a component of this project that will generate funds. Yes, The fact that an NGO does not mean you cannot make money. It is not a sin to make money as an NGO. It's not a sin. In fact, there is a very famous popular business school, I'll not mention their name, in this country. If you know, you know. They are registered as an NGO. They are registered as an NGO. And of course, we both know that they are making money. We both know that they are making money. Of course, I will not mention their name, right? And if anybody mentions any name in the chat, I am not there. So people will not say, oh, it's Ben that I mentioned the name. I am not there. So that's sustainability. They are very sustainable because essentially, like, even though they are on paper, they are running the school like a charity, but they are making money, right? They're making money. So think about it. How can you build sustainability, right? Who says you cannot have a school or a business school that is run like an NGO? It's about sustainability. You don't want to be begging for money every single time as an NGO. You need to think, how will our NGO attract funding, after this initial funding runs out? And that's what makes a solid sustainability plan. It's about explaining how the project will be self-sustainable after that initial funding runs out, right? So moving on. Other things like attachments. Sometimes the funder will ask you for attachments. They will ask you for things like maybe your financial records. They can ask you for your CAC certificates. If you're not registered, I think we've had this conversation. You should be registered, right? Stop using your name as the name of the NGO. Go and register with the government. Very important, because a lot of funders will ask you for your CAC registration, right? Or bank account, your financials or audited financials, right? Certifications. It depends. For some NGOs that are doing very sensitive things, maybe in the health space, there may be some certifications that you need to operate. So you need to have all of those things. In fact, do you know what? You should have like a Google Drive where you put all of those documentations and your certifications, put everything in one folder. So the next time you're applying for a grant, maybe it's a grant by the US government, just go to that folder, download, attach. Your life is simple, right? Okay. So before we go on to Unit 3, I want to be sure that somebody is learning something. I want you to go to the chat section right now if you're learning something. Are you learning something? Is this class useful to you? Are you learning something? I want you to go to the chat section right now. Go to the chat section, and I want to be sure that you're learning something, right? Are you learning something? Are you learning something? Don't worry if you have questions. I will take your questions, but I want to be sure that you're learning something. And by all means, if you're not learning something, you find this class boring or big guy is too fast, right? Please, I'm open to criticism. By all means, put it there in the chat section. Bring that slow down, or you are too fast, or I'm struggling with this part, right? I want to know that you're learning things, right? So please give me feedback. Franklin, what is the typical cost for hiring an expert, for example, grant master, to write a winning grant for me as a new NGO so that I can face other things? So Franklin, it really depends. It depends. Sometimes we run promos for NGOs, right? So our typical cost would be anywhere from 50,000 to 150,000. That would be our typical cost for an NGO, right? So it really depends. We always try to support NGOs by running promos and partnering with other people, right? So it depends. The pricing for NGO, we try as much as possible to give discounted fees or support NGOs. We do a lot of pro bono stuff around other things that we can for NGOs. So it really depends. But that's the range from 50,000 to like 150,000. That's like the range for that. So Bookie, based on what you just said now, if the NGO decides to partner with the funder, not because of the grant, and the NGO turns out to be what the funder will also be proud to contribute. As an NGO, can you partner with the funder? It's possible. It's possible. But partner with the funder means that you probably already have a rapport with them, because partnership means that you already have a relationship. So, because, for example, now, if I decide to partner with the American Spaces, right? As a Mandela Washington Fellow, it's probably easier for me, right? As an attendee of those programs, it's probably easier for you because at least you've participated in the program. You can start a conversation, right? But it's very hard to partner with maybe a potential funder if you don't have any history with them. It's very, very hard. Okay, it's really good that we're all learning. Fantastic. Okay, so Unit 3 is about developing prevention programs, and here we're going to try to talk about how you can develop prevention programs, essentially. So let me move on. When you're thinking about developing prevention programs, especially for people in the health space, think about the HIV/AIDS pandemic, right? There are NGOs that basically focus on HIV/AIDS, right? And they focus on prevention, and that's their focus. And they keep winning big grants. Why? Because number one, they are laser focused, right? And I think this is a very important point for a lot of NGOs on this call, right? As an NGO, you should Try to define your focus. Don't be jumping up and down. You should not be the same NGO that is doing education, you're the same NGO that is in health, you're the same NGO that is doing solar, you're the same NGO that is trying to save the environment. Right? Don't be scatterbrained as an NGO. Don't be scatterbrained. Take a deep breath. Do like this. Right? I know some of you are already feeling attacked. Like, Benga is attacking. Your NGO should not be a scatterbrained NGO. Don't be jumping up and down. Have a narrow focus. Right? So that when even funders are thinking about, let me shock you. Do you know that funders sometimes reach out to organizations to apply for grants? Do you know that? Do you know that we literally have examples of this at Grandmaster where some of our clients, the funder called them on the phone to telling them to apply, that they are looking forward to the application. Why? Because the funder has already seen the incredible things that they are doing. And so the funder is like, wow, we would like to support this. And so the only reason why they will probably not win is maybe if they put in a terrible application or they're just unserious with the process. The funder can then change their mind, right? It's very possible for the funder to call you on the phone, right? Let me give an example. I won't be surprised if, for example, American Spaces calls or maybe American Corner calls or the US government calls to say, oh, Benga, we like the work you're doing with Grandmaster. We understand that a lot of NGOs are struggling. We'd like to partner with you on this, right? That is a very possible phone call and a very possible conversation that can happen. But do you know what? It can't happen if your NGO is always jumping from pillar to post. If you are the one, today you are doing solar, tomorrow you are doing education, next tomorrow you are doing health. I mean, what is it? What is it? What is your problem? What is it? Now, I know that I'm attacking some people here. Don't worry, right? It is for your good. It is for your own good that I am sounding like I'm attacking. It's for your own good. You need to focus. Don't be jumping up and down, right? Focus. Your NGO should have a focus. So that when funders are thinking about NGOs that are doing incredible work in education, we can think about you, right? Let me share this law with you, a law that I came across that literally changed my life. There's a book called The 22 Immutable Laws of Branding by Al and Laura Rees. I'll encourage us to read that book. 22 Immutable Laws of Branding. Al and Laura Rees. Father and daughter combo, right? This book changed my life. And what I learned from this book, there's a law, right, where they talk about the power of a brand. And the law is that the power of a brand is inversely proportional to its scope, meaning that the more things an organization does, the less power they have, right? Now, I know some of you are thinking, Benga, but Dangote is doing, this, right? All these big companies are doing 1 million things. Let me share this with you. In order for you to grow your organization, your NGO, in order for you to grow your organization and be successful, don't do, or let me put it this way, the way the authors put it. In order to be rich and famous, don't do what the rich and famous are doing. Do what they did. How does it apply to your NGO? In order for you to build a successful NGO, don't do what the biggest NGOs are doing now. Do what they did. What they did is different from what they are doing now. Let me explain. So if you look at maybe an NGO like Budget, right? Right now, Budget has like other sub NGOs, let me put it that way, that they are running. They even have, different arms, right? So if you look at that, you can be carried away and say, but Budget is doing this and this. That's not how they started. Budget started with a laser focus on the budget, simplifying the budget. But today, they are doing some other things that are still related. So if you look at what Budget is doing today and you say, but Budget is doing like 5, 6, 7 things, and you try to do that, you will most likely fail. Right? It's easier for you to build your name in one category. And then as you grow, as you build capacity, you then expand over time. Right? So trends in target groups. Keeping abreast of the HIV/AIDS pandemic is a challenging task because the perception of the epidemic and its priority of populations have changed often. Right? Now, I don't want to flood this because I know that there are other people who are probably not focused on the HIV/AIDS epidemic, but essentially, what we're talking about here is thinking about your priority populations, right? You need to know who your target audience is. You are not sent to everybody, which follows from what I was talking about, where I said, your NGO should not be jumping from pillar to post, right? You are not sent to everybody. You need to be able to understand who your target population is, who your priority population is for every single intervention that you do. Now, let me share some resources for collecting relevant statistics, right? So, the CDC, the US Census Bureau, and I even have some questions for you here, right? So I know that a lot of the resources here are focused on American NGOs, right? So for Nigerians, for example, You can try the Bureau of Statistics, you can try Statista, you can try STS, right? Because in order for you to support your proposals, it's not every time you'll be able to do a survey. Sometimes you just need to cite like work that has been done. For example, how do I know the unemployment rate in Nigeria? The Nigeria Bureau of Statistics, right? How do I know the population of Nigeria? I probably need to check NBS or check Statista, right? How do I know the power generation of Nigeria, statistics? I can check STS, right? So these are some of the resources, but I want to ask you, right? What are some of the other resources that are useful for Nigerians? If I'm looking for for statistics to back up my proposal, or which ones have you even used in the process of writing proposals? Because I know some of you are writing proposals. So let's have a class interaction for 5 to 10 minutes. And this is also your opportunity to ask questions, right? Because I would like us to just take more questions at this point. And so more questions, and just share with me some of the resources that you've used and the ones that you find very useful. Somebody saying my sound is bad. Tina, my network is breaking.
We can hear you very well from here.
Oh, okay. Okay, all right. Okay. All right. Okay. So Busola is saying Statista STS. Okay, Busola, yeah. I mean, I think we can both agree on both Statista and STS, very fantastic sources. Samira is saying for education, the Labe reports. I didn't even know about that. So Samira, thank you for sharing. MICS survey, NEDS. Samira, thank you so much for sharing. And I hope you guys are learning. You know, check the comment section. It's going down there. Oshogbo Window, university project. Oshogbo Window, what do you mean by university project? What do you mean? Maybe you can explain what you mean. Benjamin for health, WHO. Absolutely. WHO, absolutely. WHO is a very solid source. Very, very solid source. Okay. So do you have any questions or comments? Any questions or comments? Our final class would be more of a practical class where we'll do classwork and do exercises on writing, and then I'll show you a budget. So our final class would be very practical, where you see an actual budget. I'll show you components of an actual winning proposal, right? And then you can ask questions. And so our final class will be very practical. Our final class, I don't want to come and define any time for you or something. It's just very practical class, and then you can ask questions. That would be the purpose of our final class, right? So I think it's probably the perfect way to definitely end the session. So I would like to take questions before we wrap up for today. Samira, NDHS report. Samira, thank you so much. Thank you for sharing. Sylvia, UNICEF. Yes, UNICEF, especially on, UNICEF is United Nations International Children Emergency Fund. So it means that if you need statistics on children emergencies, on things affecting children, UNICEF is definitely your go-to resource for that. Then I remember now, the grant that I wanted to talk to you about, business partnership facility. That's the grant. That's the grant. Business partnership facility. That's the grant. Yeah. So you can just Google it. It's the grant is still open to next year, January. So you can Google the grant. You can check it out. And for some of you who want me to share the website, that's also fine. I will share the website. I will share the website now. Yes, so that's the website. American Center Lagos, thank you for sharing. United Nations, ECOWAS, UNESCO, these organizations do a lot of research, right? So, and most of the research is free, right? It's free. So by all means, feel free to check out their reports and use, those facts from those reports to strengthen your proposals. IAAY African Youth. My question is that, can we also write private individuals for grants? If you're writing them, should we follow the same pattern of writing corporate bodies? IAAY African Youth, yes, you can write private individuals, but from my own experience, you need to have a relationship with them, right? Or at least know somebody in that organization, right? because a lot of these guys get a lot of requests, random requests, and they just bring them because they don't know you, they don't know anything about you. So what I would advise is that you at least have somebody in the organization who can speak for you, who can speak to your character as an organization, right? So yes, you can also write to private individuals, right? You can. It's not every time that you win a grant simply because you responded to a proposal. Sometimes it's just, you just write. Let me give an example. There's this fantastic NGO called Slum to School, right? Slum to School. And the founder is also a Mandela Washington Fellow, right? Slum to School. And what they did is that they partnered with Domino's Pizza. And every time you buy pizza from Domino's Pizza, a portion of it goes to Slum to School to keep kids in school, right? So Slum to School right now does not need to apply for grant funds, right? Every single time you buy pizza from Domino's Pizza, we are indirectly funding some to school. So I hope that helps. I hope that helps. Bello, bad network is messing things up. I put so many important questions here. Bello, if you can share those questions again. American Corner Port Harcourt, is there any difference between letter of inquiry and letter of intent? All right. So American Corner Port Harcourt, there's really no difference, right? They may use different phrases for it, but there's really no difference, right? Letter of inquiry is you making an inquiry. Letter of intent is you saying that I intend to apply for a proposal. So they're it's just like RFP and request for proposal and a request for there's another name for request for proposal. I'm trying to remember. Request for applications, right? So some people will say, some funders will say RFA. Most usually say RFP, right? So there's really no difference. So American Corner Port Harcourt, right? There's really no difference. Essentially, for some funders, it's the first stage. Before they ask you to write a full proposal, they need to submit the letter of intent. Okay. Oka window, please welcome the statistics on women. Oka window, I think you should scroll up. We've shared a lot of resources on that, and other people have shared several other sources. So I would advise you that you scroll up and check them out. America Center Lagos 2. As a new NGO, how do you build your financial report to back up your grant proposals, right? So remember what I said about new NGOs. Basically, what you want to do is you want to first do some projects, right? No matter how small the project is, go and do a project first. When you do a project, you have financial records. At least in that project, you will spend money. Even if it is in kind, right? You spend money, you spend resources. So you have some form of financial report. So as a new NGO, go and do something first. That's how you can have financial reports. Ambassador Messi, like reaching out to people at the IDP camps, prison visitations, home for homeless and help for widows cause. We're in a place where people can hardly feed. Would you cause this doing so many things at once? So Ambassador Mercy, the IDP outreach itself is like a focus area, right? So if you're reaching out to IDPs and you're trying to meet their various needs, at least you have a focus. You are focused on IDPs. So I wouldn't say you're doing too many things at once. However, you need to understand that a lot of funders think about funding in terms of thematic areas, right? Thematic areas. So, for example, you will notice that a lot of funders, when they release their RFP, you will see that it's usually focused on maybe, in fact, some of them will even tell you that we are focused on these thematic areas. They'll tell you, we are looking for NGOs who are working on health, education, maybe children. Right? So they will tell you about their thematic areas, meaning that as an NGO, you cannot afford to be spread too thin, right? So the best case scenario is that you're focused on one or two thematic areas, right? However, if you are maybe focused on IDPs and then you are providing a holistic solution for issues around IDPs, I think you still have a focus, right? So it's more like an humanitarian intervention. I hope I answered your question. Uche, can you still accept grants if you are a social enterprise registered as a business instead of an NGO? There are grants for businesses. The grant that I just shared with you, for example, the Business Partnership Facility Grant, is open to both NGOs and businesses, right? So there are grants for businesses, even though there are more grants for NGOs. So yes, there are more grants for NGOs, but there are also grants for businesses. And I think for some of you are wondering here, what if I'm a business and I want to apply for grants for NGOs? The way around that is to register an NGO in addition to being a business. Yes, that's the way around that. And it's very legal. So I'm not teaching you some bad things to do. I don't know if I mentioned this before. Even big corporations have foundations, right? So we have MTN that has MTN Foundation, right? So it's absolutely legal. You can register an NGO that is now going to be like the CSR arm of your business. So that's absolutely fine. You want to eat your cake and have it, that's fine. Your business can register an NGO. So is there any other question? Is there any other question? Because if there's no other question, it means that we're done today. Okay, there's a question from Fumi. My organization is a media non-profit, but we do reporting on various issues. Fumi, your question is incomplete. Please share with us. So I'll let you go back to the host now, and I'm still on standby if you have a few questions, at least probably for the next 5-10 minutes. We have to take questions, but ladies and gentlemen, with these 2 points of mine, I hope I'll be able to convince and not confuse you that you too can win grant funding. Thank you very much.
Let's put our hands together. I think we are not confused. We're either convinced. Thank you very, very much for today's presentation. We're very grateful. Do we have 1 or 2 questions? Any other questions? If none, let me remind you again of the events which I talked about when we started. We said on Wednesday, let me quickly go to our Facebook page. Just give me 1 minute. All right. On our Facebook page, we have this important event. US Africa Leaders Summit is starting 13 to 15. And the American Spaces in Nigeria will be hosting a watch party in each location on the theme amplifying emerging voices in governance and creative industry. If you know anyone who is going to benefit from this, please let them show up at American Spaces on December 14 at 2:30 p.m. Abeokuta, Abuja, Awka, Bauchi, Benin City, Calabar, Enugu, Ibadan, Ikeja, Kano, Lekki, Maiduguri, Osogbo, Port Harcourt, Sokoto, Uyo, and Victoria Island. Please, let's extend this. And on Friday, let's remember we also have another important session, conversation with an alum. Come and listen to this wonderful story of this guy, Emmanuel Agunze. We'll be discussing his journey of patience in his Makoko Dream Project. All right, I can see Awka and I can see Osogbo. Let's quickly take these 2 while we wrap up. Please, Osogbo. Okay, let's have Awka first. Let's start with Awka, alphabetically. Awka, please unmute yourself.
Good morning, sir.
Morning.
Thank you for the class. It was quite enlightening. Please, I'd like to know what's the difference between a concept note and a proposal.
What is the difference between
Concept note and proposal?
Concept note and a proposal? Okay. Lubengwa will come up with the answer. Osogbo, can we have your question?
Yes, thank you very much for the presentation. We are so happy. But sometimes they ask us to do a kind of baseline studies when writing a proposal. And most of the time, when we are dealing with some of the things that has to do with data gathering, especially from the minute like we are mentioning now, that we can get our data from different places and sources. What of the case where we don't even have those real data to be imputed in the proposal? What do? Do we just do a general sampling or whatever? Thank you.
Okay, let's take Lucy as the final person. For Lucy, as I saw your hand up, you have left again. Okay, Olugbenga, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. So someone is asking for my email address. I just want to quickly share that. Okay, so I noted down the questions. The first question is, what is the difference between concept note and a proposal? So essentially, a concept note is also a type of proposal, right? And the difference is that most of the time, concept notes are usually like the first stage in the proposal process, most of the time. So sometimes you have the funder will tell you to submit a concept note first, and then at stage 2, they'll then tell you to submit a full proposal, right? So concept notes are generally very short. They're like a super summary of the entire proposal. So a concept note may be like 1 or 2 pages, right? Whereas the main proposal can be as much as 11 pages, 12 pages, right? However, in some cases, the funder is referring to the full proposal as a concept note. So while a concept note is a proposal is not necessarily a concept note. I hope that helped. Now, for the second question, you were asking about, sometimes they ask you to do a baseline study, and what do you do? So essentially, a baseline study is, let's start with the baseline. What is the baseline? The baseline is the status quo. Meaning that, for instance, if you want to do a training for out-of-school children in the community, the baseline would be the number of out-of-school children or percentage of out-of-school children in that community, right? So the baseline is not something that you can find on websites like maybe STAIRS or UNICEF, right? Baseline is something that you essentially have to go out and find yourself, except there's another project, a similar project that has happened in that community and is recent. Right, that's when you can cite that study. Otherwise, you probably have to go to the field yourself and do a baseline survey, right, to find out, okay, how many people are out of school in this community? Because I mean, you're not World Bank, right, or the US government. You may not be able to organize an intervention that can reach an entire state, or at the same time, right? So probably your intervention is maybe in one rural community, a remote community. So it should be relatively easy for you to do a baseline study. So essentially, most baseline studies are they are primary data, very primary, meaning that you generate it yourself. So I hope that helps.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, all right, thank you very much. Ketura, that's the final one. Unmute yourself, please.
Yes, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yes, I want to appreciate the facilitator. This is Ketura from Jos Plateau State. And my question is, because I have seen a question asking what aspect of the project proposal that makes is the logical framework. That is the aspect where you have to state various areas in case of monitoring and evaluation. So what I want to ask is, mostly in grants, they will ask you to write the amount for monitoring and evaluation. So I want the facilitator to help me mention what are the items that is for the, if we said we are allocating 1 million for monitoring and evaluation, what are those activities that has to do with monitoring and evaluation? So, and finally, well, for us in Jos, there has been an American Center, but now we are missing out. We hope that it will be open soon for us to participate fully. Thank you. So the expert activities for the monitoring and evaluation.
Did you get the question?
Yes, I got a question. Okay, so thank you for asking. I mean, that's a very fantastic question. So, for example, in your M&E system, the activities would flow out of the things that you've written, right? They'll flow out of those things. But let me just give an example about some of the key activities. So, the monitoring and evaluation, a lot of times people mention like they'll do surveys and things like that. So, for example, data analysis could be an item that you spend money on, right? if you need to send people to the field to gather primary data, right? So that could be, logistics could actually be part of the amount of the money you spend on M&E. If you need to hire an external M&E consultant, right? The fee you would pay, that consulting fee you would pay, your professional service charge, right, could be under your M&E. So your M&E should flow from the things that you've written. So I cannot give you like a blanket formula to say, oh, this is what should be on your M&E. No, it depends on what you've written, the things that you mentioned that you are going to do under your M&E, right? So your budget should flow from that. Right? So if you want to do maybe surveys, you want to do interviews, what would you spend money on, right? Let's say you want to do interviews as part of your M&E. Will you hire like a media outlet? Or if maybe this is a multi-year project that is probably going to span like 3, 4, 5 years, do you want to just buy the equipment, right? Yes, it's possible. So there are times that you can make a case for buying an equipment versus renting. You can make a case if it's a multi-year project and you're probably going to need this equipment like once every month. It doesn't make sense to hire at that point, right? Because it's better that you just like buy the equipment and maybe hire somebody to manage it if the project is going to span multiple years. So your M&E plan will flow out from all of the things that you've mentioned, right? The budget will flow from all of the things that you mentioned. So I cannot give you a blanket formula, but I hope that what I've shared helps.
Very, very much. Let me answer the question of Joss. It's a very sad for us that we had to close Joss, the American corner in Joss. We're working on looking for another partner. As soon as we get a partner, definitely we're coming back to Joss. Joss is a very important place for us. But meanwhile, you can watch and be part of all our programs through our Facebook page, fb.me/American_NG. So let me put it right there so that everybody can know. So that anytime you want to know about any of our program, it's very important that you check first. And once you check right here, then you'll be able to know exactly what we have in plan. Most of them are streamed live, except for training programs like this. And if you're not streaming live, we always put the link there for that purpose. Okay, I hope that is very clear. Thank you, everybody. So what is left for me now to do is to thank Olugbenga Ogunbowale for yet another opportunity that we have to glean from his wealth of experience today. We want to appreciate you and we say thank you very much. And to all our directors who have been able to make this happen in our different locations, we appreciate you also. Please do not forget, Wednesday is very important for all of us, US African Leaders Summit, and that theme is very, very central. Please, let's invite all our people. All of us who have been here, please don't forget, you're also invited. I say bye-bye to everybody. See you soon. Thank you. Have a wonderful day. Bye.